Museum Center, and I'm going to be sharing with you my family's holiday recipe for spiced nuts. So this is something that my mom usually makes every year for us. It's really, really good. We always look forward to it, and the smell of it too is what I always remember. It really reminds me of the holidays. So for this recipe, what you're going to need is you're going to need an egg, because you'll get your egg whites from that. You're going to need some cinnamon. You're going to need sugar, a little bit of salt, and then you're going to need a pound of nuts. Now, we traditionally do pecans for this, but also almonds and walnuts work well for this too, so it just depends on what your tastes are for this. Now, the first thing that you're going to have to do is, as I mentioned, you're going to need some egg whites. So you're going to need to take your egg, and if you don't know how to get egg whites out of it, it's actually pretty simple. So I'm just going to crack it on the side here. And when you break it apart, you're going to break it apart so that you keep your egg in the shell like this. And what's dripping out there is my egg whites. So basically all I need to do now is just go back and forth with this. And my yolk will stay intact and my egg whites will come on out of that. Alright, so now I've got my egg white part in the bowl here. You need to whip it so it's nice and frothy. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a teaspoon of water to this. And then I'm going to take the whisk and I'm just going to whisk it around there. And I'm going to do this for quite a while until it starts to turn really, really frothy in there and bubbly. You want it to be very little liquid in there. Okay, so I've been whisking this for a little bit. You can see it's looking pretty frothy and bubbly. So it is ready now for the nuts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our nuts, we'll add them to this mixture, and you want to stir it up so it coats the nuts nice and evenly, and then we'll get working on our coating for the spiced nuts. Alright, so you can see I've added the pecans now, and as I stir this around, you'll see that they are getting the egg white mixture on them, and so it's nice and coated. Once they have that mixture on, and then they're ready to get the sugar and the cinnamon, which we'll make here in just a second. Alright, so for the coating, we're going to add, first of all, our sugar. And you'll want this in a separate bowl. Then we're going to, and that's a half a cup of sugar. Then we're going to do a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I always like a little more cinnamon, so I always add a little bit more. And then just about a quarter teaspoon of salt to it. And just kind of rough it out. Then you're going to take a spoon, you're going to want to stir it up, because right now it's all kind of, I got some sugar lumps in there. I want to mix it up so it's nice and evenly blended, and I get rid of all those clumps that are left in it. Once that is done, then I'm going to lay my nuts out on a baking sheet, and I'm going to sprinkle them then with this mixture here, making sure that everything is nice and evenly coated. And if you've got a little bit extra, you can always add some more of this mixture to your nuts as they are baking when you do some stirring of them. So when you're ready to bake, you want to set your oven to 225, and that'd be the preferred temperature for it. And the nuts are going to be there for about an hour. You're going to want to stir it about every 15 minutes or so, and like I mentioned, if you have extra mixture left over, you can always sprinkle it to add a little more to make your nuts even sweeter than what they're going to be otherwise. So I didn't quite use a full pound of nuts, so it wouldn't quite fill my baking sheet here, but if you have a full pound, it'll usually fill up a large baking sheet. And then I typically just like to hand sprinkle on my salt, cinnamon, and sugar to it, just to give it a nice even coating to it. So I'll kind of do a top layer, and then I'll give it a good stir. And then I'll add a little bit more. Alright, so my oven is preheated, so I'm going to take my cookie sheet and put it right in. And once again, this is at 225, and you'll want to give it an hour or so in the oven, stirring it every 15 minutes just to make sure they don't stick together. And like I mentioned, you can add a little extra. I've got some extra sugar cinnamon mixture that I'll put on these just to make them a little bit sweeter, because that's the way I like them. So it looks like the pecans are all ready. And as you can see, they're looking really good. Let me get some light. And I myself prefer to eat them when they're nice and warm like this. They taste the best, but you can also let them cool and eat them as well. But hopefully you try this recipe out and you enjoy it as much as I do.